Hello, I am Nick. Welcome to the IMB tutorials, the Infinite Metal Builder. I've done a manual, but there might be things that are still slightly confusing, and this has been a long time coming. So I'm going to run through everything, show you what it does. There might be some bits that have been confusing before, and I hope to allay that confusion. And the first part, we're just going to deal with these nodes, the top nodes, and the second part, we'll deal with these nodes, alright? So let's get cracking. Let's start over here. You'll see when you open the main file, you've got, oh, good point. This is the latest version. I've made a few changes. If you're watching this and you've downloaded anything 2.2 and below, this is the latest version 2.3, and I've made a few changes. I'll explain to you as I go if you've already been using 2.2 or earlier. Alright, that'll do. Let's get going. Let's start off down here, color control. So this one, even I got confused with this. I built this a while back, and I've built a few shaders, and I have to use them to make sure they're working, to update them, to make changes, do tutorials, whatnot. And this one, the IMB, I hadn't used it for a few weeks, and I'd completely forgotten how I'd set this up. So if it confused me, it may have confused you. So I'll explain. So the filter 1 and 2 mix filters. Obviously, you've got filter 1 mix and filter 2 mix. So if I do filter 1 and we look over at the plane here, I'm in viewport shading, by the way, we will see this filter color. And you can change, I'll explain how they interact. I'll just go through how you change the colors and all that. So you can see it's based on is it a noise filter, this one? Yes, this one's on a noise filter. So this is where you control how much of, how the filter looks. You've got your filter controls, it's exactly the same as a noise texture. So you scale, knock that up, detail, take it down. Do what you would normally do with a noise filter to get this. And filter 2 uses a Musgrave filter texture. So you've got scale, detail, dimension, lacunarity, lacunarity, dimension, scale, detail, dimension, lacunarity. So, and these, same thing as filter color 1, filter color 2 is here, so you can make all your changes here. When you've got dimension turned up, experiment. So that's what that one looks like. Now, how they interact is with this here. So if I turn this all the way down, there's no filter active. Even though you've got filter 2, there's nothing active because it's not mixed in. So as it's set to mix, if I mix it into 100%, it's mixing now. So it's replacing the single color. It's now only displaying black and this gold-ish dirty. So you can change the mode to say screen, which means it's only going to show these bits, the lighter bits. So if we put that to screen, it's difficult to see because we need to maybe make this a lot darker. A lot darker. Not that black. So you can see now, depending on which angle you're looking at it, it's only displaying the lighter colors. So if we put that, if you put it to multiply, it's only going to display the darker colors, which is the black. And it's going to look like that because this is on black. That was on, there you go. It's effectively the same thing. And so let's say that we mix filter 1. So now it's just displaying these two colors because it's set to mix. And then you can fully mix in that one, number 2. And now it's mixing both of these two together. And then if you change this mode to, I don't know, overlay, we could probably do with a better looking color here. So now it's overlaying both of these filters, filter 1 and filter 2, over the single color. So that's how you can make all 3 of them interact with each other. You'd set it to mix if you just wanted one of the filter colors. Say filter color 1 to be the actual color of the metal. Then that's how you do it. So mix would, yeah, you get it, right? I think that's clear. Okay, so that's the colour control. Let's move on to, we'll get to these when we use them, or we'll get to that when we use it. So PBR anisotropy control, PBR is physically based. PBR, physically based reality, I don't know, or physically based on reality. Why do I not know that? I wrote it, I've forgotten it. So what this one will do, the easiest way to show it is if I go straight over to Anisotropic. Now you get this, like you'd see at the bottom of a frying pan. And you can change how that looks. Although it's probably easier if I shift A, add a monkey. Get here, Suzanne. I need you. I'm just going to put a subdivision on that and go up to 3. And with my quick menu material, just copy the material. So here we have Suzanne. And now if we change this, you'll see a much more dramatic shift. There's the old frying pan jobby. So yeah, that's the anisotropic. And if we deal with that first, so once you're in in an anisotropic, you're using anisotropic filters. So the anisotropy amounts will do that. Take it all the way down. You got, it seems to work there. Anisotropy roughness. Let's switch that to Z and move. Right, anisotropy roughness. No roughness means it's obviously, yeah, it makes it nice and smooth. You can have a rough anisotropy or not so rough. Nice. Okay, and rim effect, I believe, only works. Does it only? Yeah. In rim effect is above the anisotropic filters, so that means it's not going to work when you've got anisotropic turned on. So if you turn back to PBR, the rim effect color is this one, the red one, rim color, and this one I always shift click because it only needs a little bit to start turning up. So if we just start, there we go, see, 0.2, that's it, that's all it needed. And it does that, it adds a red, in this case, because the colour's red, a red sheen, I suppose. And the rim roughness, if you take it down, it'll probably go white. Oh, not metal roughness, rim roughness. Yeah, so now it's very reflective at the edges. If we turn it all the way up, it's, it's massively rough at the edges, so it's much more visible. Alright, so that's how you can do if you put too much in, the whole thing will turn red, but that's, depends what you want. So I like a little bit, depending on what I'm making, and that's how you get something like pearlescent paint on cars. You'd have a blue, maybe a blue for the metal color, and then a bit of red or for the edge, and then you'll get that nice sheen, or a little green. Okay, so that's rim effect, rim roughness. We've done anisotropy and metal roughness. I don't think I need to explain that. No, she is not so rough. IOR, index of refraction. I wouldn't bother messing with it. It's there if you want to, but you'll see what happens if you do start messing with it. You start getting some weird things happening. There you go, like that. So I wouldn't. It's there, but 1.43 works perfectly well for me. All right. So while we're here, Edgeware mix. Mix that up. See what it does. It adds a bit of roughness to the edge, or less saturation, or it adds this colour. Basically, it's just making it look a bit worn. This one, Pernickety, you've got to move very small amounts, and you'll see why. Okay, so now because I've reduced the contrast, this edge here is now much stronger. If I drag it all the way back here, see how it gets a bit softer, and then if you bring the white forward or back, you add more. But you see what I mean? Like from there to there, it's a big change. So you've got to find just about the right position, and that's not it because that's way too harsh. But yeah, so you can add a bit of edgeware to the mix. So that's edgeware. Let's turn that off. Dust. uses ambient occlusion data, so it's just going to darken up creases where geometry meets geometry. Let's put it up to full just to show exactly. So you can see now it's got this dust here, this dust here. I never have it on full, I just have a bit of a mix. But it's dependent on the object you're putting this on and how, well, just how the geometry is, depends on how visible this is. Dust shape, if we drag this to the left, we're removing it completely. And if you bring it forward, you see we're getting much more of an effect. It's even trying to darken in these areas here. So that is dust. Bush, nice and easy. Rusted metal, just mix it in with this, and now we got rusted metal. And this is specific, it has its own node group because I wanted the bump to, you know, to look like it, well, it's 3D, and to do that with all this was a bit of a pain, so I just made a rusted metal node group. Okay, so rust color is right here. Do as you will. This is the metal color for the rusted metal, so instead of using single color over here, because you're in rusted metal, you're all over here now, so the metal color is changed here, but I don't like blue. So rust amount, if we drag this over here, you get a lot more rust. And if we drag the black to meet or closer to the white, we get even more rust. It just darkens up, I mean, makes more visible the areas that are already rusted. Alright, so that's how you do that. I mean, using these controls, you could, if you wanted to, just have this as like a second color, like maybe this is the metal and this is, you know, painted areas, and you could then under main bump, just because if we invert it now this is on the top, or well, let's see, yeah, you know what happens when you invert something, it either takes chunks or add chunks, so play with that. You can do quite a lot with that. It doesn't necessarily have to be rusted metal, it could be anything, you know, painted metal that's scratched, but that's what I called it, so it's easier to understand. Alright, that is rusted metal not done. Once you've got these, anisotropic, again, mix that in, and now it becomes anisotropic. Anisotropic. I don't know if that's a word. Yeah, so, and again, you've got the same control here as over there, and anisotropic roughness, exactly the same as the metal roughness. The anisotropic controls over there, and the rust color filter is for the rust itself. If you've got more than one color, if we put the scale down to 2, you see what happens. This one is a Musgrave, so now you know, you get it, right? It's changing those details there. If you put the detail down, it'll become blotchy or disappear. But play around with it. Play around. Bit of Jonathan Ross. I want that back to something way bigger. 80. That's better. Okay. And the rust shape filter, this one is for the shape. So if it's on -2, don't know why. If we put that up to 5, it's going to start, you know, taking over more of the. Let's put 20 and you'll see what I mean. You know, the scale's got smaller. This one is another Musgrave in terms of the shape, so you can control how big the patches are. Detail, dimension, lacunarity. I've done it again, lacunarity. I just want to say that. Lacunarity. And once you're in rusted metal controls, to get the filter colours over here, you must first mix them in, like that. And now we've got the filter controls over here. Filter 1 apparently is now displaying over the top. We could multiply or overlay. Play with it. Experimentation. So that's the rusted metal. Yep, Sci-fi effects. Very simple. When you're done with rusted metal, turn it off. Otherwise you might make changes and nothing happens because rusted metal is turned up. You know, if you're picking one of these to use, just make sure the other ones aren't mixed in. So sci-fi effects, not tough. This one's just to give. Let me just turn. If that happens, we want to turn the rim effect off. And brightness. It's the things I'm using. Let's have a look at the plane. Yep, there we go. That's easier. So it just does this. It creates these crazy shapes. Brightness. Let's bring it up a bit. This is kind of a contrasty thing. Let me make the colour not so drastic. That's not green, Nick. No, there we go. That would do lovely. So it's making these shapes, and then you mix in the bump, and you can add bump to the shapes. And I found this really useful for paneling in the walls, for sci-fi scenes, I suppose. Invert the bump, goes the other way. The displacement mix. What I'm going to need to do is rapidly. Oh, it's got subdivisions. Good. And it's already subdivided. So sci-fi displacement, instead of it just being bump, now is the displacement. So it's kind of like a futuristic cityscape or something. I made a Death Star Destroyer and things like this. This is really useful for that. And you can invert the displacement as well. Whatever takes your fancy. So it's gone the other way now. So let's do that. So that's sci-fi mix, really. Random shape, put in a number, you get a random shape. Randomness, you turn that off, it's not going to be very random. There we go. So you could do other things with that if you wanted. Brightness. Now this one, it's kind of like a contrast thing as well. If it's all the way down, I should change that to contrast rather than brightness. Yeah, there you go. And what I'll say, because this, as I say, this is version 2.3. In 2.2 and below, there was another node group here called bolted paneling, and I've used this a lot, and I've never once used it. So I thought, you know what, it takes up room. It's unlikely anyone's using that, so I'll just get rid of it. So I got rid of the bolted paneling, and it wasn't quite working as well as I'd hoped. So that's gone, which is why now we've got these four here and not this one in the middle. Bolted paneling. All right, custom color control. So let's say you want to paint on this. So first off, you'd need to go into texture paint, and then because these nodes are set up, they're already here. So if we go for the multiply one, which is this one, all you need to do is let's paint something dark because we're on multiply. Let's go with that, and we go. Nyeh. Let's make it a bit more colourful. Okay. Oh, it's the strength. Silly. Anyway, okay, so texture paint, always save all images. And then if we nip back to here, nothing happens. And that's because we've got to mix it in. There it is. So that's let's say you do that. And now I'm going to quickly fill that with white because I don't want that thing on there. And screen, you just, oh blimey, that should be black. I'm not 100% sure what's happened there, but it won't happen for yours because I'm going to fix that before I upload it. Okay, so now if we paint light colours, like blue, save all images, go back to render mode, and again, mix it in. There she blows. So they're 4K. You can set them up. If you want to do your own, by all means, add your own here, base color or whatever. But just as long as you replace them, they need to, where this plugs in, your new node needs to plug in the same place. So just replace one of these two if you need to. I don't think you need to, but And what it says here, rusted metal custom colour. If you're in rusted, oh, that looks cool. I've never done that before. Yeah. Anyway, right. I'm going to take that off, and I'm going to take the bump off. All right. Okay, so if you're in rusted metal, if you want to do the same thing, you've got to use these to... We're on white. It's clearly not going to display if the colour is white. Oh, blimey. You see it. There it is. So when you're in rusted metal, whichever one, screen or multiply, if you want to paint over the top of your rusted metal, use these two. But anything else, these two, PBR and Anisotropic, Sci-fi, use these ones. Alright. Cool. I think we're done with that, Leek. I think we can move on to the next ones now. We've covered that. Rusted metal filter colour mix. We've done that. We've done all of that. Wicked. Alright, cool. That's part one. How long? 21 minutes. The other one I don't think it's going to take as long. So, yeah. I hope that clears anything up you may have been confused with. I will see you in the next one. Farewell.